Welcome those who are joining. We're just going to give persons about 30 seconds to all get on and get settled, and then we will begin.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, I'm very excited to be here today and help out fellow business owners with their marketing. And very proud to be here and waiting as the room fills up.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Now, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for using your lunchtime and joining us for our webinar today in sponsorship with EDR and NSBA. My name is Tanya Blayton-Angalza, and I'm the program lead here at WESC. I want to say a huge shout out to our webinar sponsor, W Law. Now, I'm super excited about this topic that we have today, a startup's guide to marketing. And this will be presented by Kira Kelsey, who is the owner of Kasm Consulting. Now, if you have any questions for her throughout the presentation, we're going to use the Q&A box to ask these questions. And then we're going to use the regular chat box you can introduce yourself. If you have a business, you can drop your business link. Anything you want to share, you can share in the regular chat box. Now, as always, this webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing. You'll receive an email tomorrow about this time, just with the link telling you that the webinar is live and you can actually rewatch. So with that being said, I'm going to take myself out of the way and give Kira the opportunity to tell us about marketing. Kira, over to you.
All right, well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you everyone for joining this session, and I'm so happy to be here to help you learn about marketing. So first, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Kira Kelsey, the owner of Kasm Consulting, and what we do is we specialize in helping we specialize in helping small businesses with marketing, offering a full suite of services under the pillars of marketing strategy, digital marketing and advertising, and online optimization. So what we're going to be going through today is some tangible tips to help you with marketing your business. We have a lot of content to cover here, so I'm going to skip some of my intro, but if you're interested in learning more about me, on the left-hand side there is my LinkedIn, and on the right is my website QR code. So feel free to scan as you wish. So in this session, you will learn how to identify the customer's journey, identify your gaps, create a plan to fill your gaps, find and relay your offering's value, entice your customers, track your relationship, and please your customers post-purchase. So I have a question for the group. Does anyone know what the definition of marketing is? I will give you a second to answer. And if we don't have any answers, no worries, because you will get a definition by the end of this presentation. So stay tuned. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and dive into step number 1, which is understanding the customer's journey. So the first thing I want to do is to introduce you to the marketing hourglass. So I'm sure all of you have heard of the marketing funnel before, but it's actually an hourglass. So what marketing is to me is it's the process of exploring, creating, and delivering value to meet the needs of a target market in terms of your offerings. So in order to achieve marketing, you need to understand that target market's journey. So the left-hand side here shows you what stage a customer is in. And this over here shows you what the customer is doing at that stage and what they need at that stage. And then this one over here, furthest on the right, shows what the business has to do to get the customer through to the next stage. And as you can see, it's a loop that feeds itself, which is fantastic. And feel free to take a screenshot of this. Like she mentioned, there will be viewing available afterwards. So step number 2. Now that you've seen the marketing hourglass, I'm sure you're curious about how to get your customers to move through it. So I'm sure you've tried some things here and there with respects to marketing. And the truth is you're probably better at marketing than you think. This is why the next step in your marketing journey is to identify your gaps. So if you're not sure where to start with identifying the gaps in your marketing, I like to refer clients to this digital marketing trifecta diagram and take note of each of your assets in these areas. So I'm just going to summarize what each of these kind of bubbles are. So earned media is any type of content that is about you but not by you. So this can be reviews, media coverage, online engagement. Benefits of earned media is that it builds brand trust, and this is through what's called social proof. And most times you can do it for free or with limited budget. Cons include the lack of control in messaging, and it can be hard to achieve, right? Asking every single customer for a review, your success rate will likely not be 100% on that. Now, owned media is anything that you create as a brand that you own and post organically. So outside of what's listed, this can include blog posts, email newsletters, etc. So pros of this media is that you have the most level of control over it, and you can really portray your message, your offering, and it can really help to create a community around your brand. Cons, obviously, this is, as you guys all know, quite a time commitment, and it can be hard to do it right in terms of messaging and audience articulation and all that sort of stuff. So paid media is anything that you paid for. Shocker, right? So the benefits of paid media are that you can decide who will see your ad, you have control over all the copy, and it helps to increase engagement, awareness, and conversions. So cons is that it's easy to kind of throw money at the wind at this if you don't know what you're doing. So the proper order in which you would build your assets out is owned media, paid media, and then earned media. So if you have any questions around this, so I can see a quick question in the chat around what's the difference between paid and owned. I hope that I covered that in my description, but basically paid media is something that you backed with money, and owned media is like your own. And you can see a list of examples in what the differences are on this slide. So step number 3 here, now that you know how to identify the gaps in your marketing needs, you need to create a plan to fill those gaps. So this is a little map I made that will help you get started. This is the order in which you should be completing them. And then these are some questions to ask yourself to help you fill it in. So number 1, goals, objectives, and KPIs. So marketing without attaching it to a business goal can be a waste of time, money, and effort. There's a lot of marketing buzzwords that are used, and I don't want any of you guys to be fooled by vanity metrics such as impressions and stuff. So by determining what your business goal is, your marketing expert will be able to track and report on whether or not the marketing initiative that you engaged in actually moved the needle for you or not. And you should be able to find an expert such as myself that will be able to articulate it to you in terms that you understand, and make sure that your goals are business goals, they're not marketing goals. So number 2, target audience. Do you know who your target audience is? A lot of small businesses are still in this testing phase of like really finding out who and where their community lives. And marketing can be a really, really powerful tool to discover who is responding to your offering and who isn't. And this can help you better narrow or define your ideal customer, making it easier to reach them in the future. Number 3 is your content plan. So based on the previous slides, you should be thinking about what types of marketing assets you actually need to produce. So I know everyone says join TikTok, join Instagram, join Facebook, but think about the audiences that are on these different channels. So think about how labor intensive this will be. Is there a way to automate this? Is there a way to create evergreen content that will serve as a one-time payment but produce lasting quality content? Lynn, great question. The difference between a business goal and a marketing goal would be I want to see 10% revenue increase. That's a business goal versus I want to see a cost per click of $2. So it should be focused on what the result of the marketing is for the business. That's what a business goal is in relation. That's the main difference. So number 4, a channel plan. So I have a bit of a hot take, as I kind of alluded to before. Your business doesn't actually need to be on every social media platform. Focus your resources on the channels that your audience and your customers are using and build there. You don't have to be on everything all the time. Number 5, budget. So here are the 3 things that I would recommend spending your marketing budget on. Number 1, building internal resources. Number 2, increasing external exposure. And number 3, research. So you want to make sure that you have the resources when people come in the door to convert them. You also want to get people in the door. And then like the research part is how, when, why, where, all that sort of stuff that comes back to analytics and tracking. And then number 6 is timeline. So think about the key deliverables that you have outlined in steps 3 and 4, and what is a reasonable timeline based on your capacity, goals, and budget. So now that you've got a starting point and kind of a bit of an outline for a plan, think about what it is that you want to say when you're implementing your plan. So in your campaign, you connect with your customers your goal is to connect with your customers and articulate your unique value. So I know this can be quite challenging to narrow down because I'm sure that there's so many awesome things about your business. So in order to hone your messaging, I find that it can be really helpful to work backwards and think about it from your customer's perspective. So on the screen here are the top 4 pain points that customers aim to alleviate in their own lives. So these also serve as the points of value that will help consumers decide to purchase with you. So I'm sure you're already looking at this slide and identifying in your head which pain points your offering specifically addresses. So if you're not really sure, tools and strategies that I would recommend to find out would be number 1, just give a survey to your customers. Just ask them questions. Why did you buy our product? Describe what your life or work was like before you started using our product and after, and really listen for the points of difference that your offering has made in their life, because that's why they purchased it, was to get from where they are to where they want to be. Number 2, sit down with your sales team and have a conversation. So you'd be surprised about how much you can learn about your prospects' pain points by observing your sales team in actions, listening for common questions, all that sort of stuff. And number 3, read online reviews of your product. So understanding, you can't necessarily give every single customer this huge shiny experience, but how did they receive that? Or if they did have a great experience, also, how did they receive that? And learning where you're really good at providing value and where maybe areas for improvement are. So step number 5 here is, now that you know how to relay the value of your offerings, how do you think about the strategies that you want to use to entice customers to engage with you? So here's some easy and fast content and examples that you can implement to make your prospects consideration stage shorter and easier. So some tips as you read this slide are: number one, first impressions are really important. So make sure that your content conveys what the goal of your campaign is and includes a very simple call to action or next step. Number two, people are likely just browsing on their first visit. So if they're looking for more information, they'll seek it out. This is where having an FAQ page on your site or a blog page on your site, easy contact information on your site is really important. Number three, users can come from various places at various times. So this is why making sure that your brand is aligned across all channels, taking note of the most common website pathways, and what that means is pages viewed in sequence on your site, understanding what the customers is doing and where they found you and how they found you. Again, that comes back to analytics. And just overall considering the customer journey. You want a unified look, feel, and outcome, no matter what the starting point is. So I always use this saying, my job in the world is to remove the cracks from that hourglass that I showed you in step one. We want to keep all the sand in, and the sand is your customers. We're trying to get them through to purchase and then increase their overall lifetime value for your company. And number four, listen to what your customers are telling you. So are purchases for your offering based more around emotions or research? So for example, do I want to hear that 40% of kids drop out of sports, or do I want to hear the benefits of a doctor in keeping your kids in sports if you have like a kids sports platform, for example, right? Like thinking about what will resonate with your audience the best. Looking for things like, what are page drop-offs? So what pages are people clicking out of my site on and why? And trying to figure that out. And how much time are users spending on your pages? So are they spending 1, 2, 3 seconds, or are they actually going through your content and trying to learn more? Because those are your high intent users that you're trying to target. And if you're frequently getting lower page views and lower time spent on page, that means that either the audience was wrong and that they don't need your offering, or your pages need optimization. So now that you've got your messaging, hooks, and incentives in place, think about what you want your customers to do. So some tips to make calls to actions, that's what CTA stands for, more enticing are: number one, make them really targeted. So like I said, not every customer's journey will look the same. And not everyone that sees your ad will be in the same stage of that journey. So make sure that for each campaign, you're thinking about who you're targeting, what you want that audience to gain from your copy. And number two, place your CTAs in the right place. So make sure that the customer never has to scroll to find one. So this means top of the fold, which is the first thing you see on a website. This can be in the middle of your homepage. This can be in your footer, in the sidebar, in a pop-up, wherever you need. Make sure that it's very loud and proud, and you don't want customers to have any friction between contacting you to move towards conversion. Number three might seem obvious, but make them stand out. So experiment with different button styles and colors and combinations and messaging and see what works the best. Obviously, remembering to keep everything on brand. Number four, be really clear. So let the customer know what will happen after they engage with the CTA. So is it a download now? Is it visit a website? Like what clicking on that button will do for them. You really want to focus on benefit rather than click here. So make it, like I said, just make it really clear what the next step that they will be taking is. Use action verbs. That helps to entice people and create a sense of urgency. Lastly is A/B test. And what that means is test two things against each other. So one can say click now and one can say save 10%. Which one's going to perform better and why? You can tweak the copy, the format, which is like you can make a banner, text, buttons, you can change the color, the image, the type of CTA, and just see what elements resonate best with your audience. Okay, moving on to step number 6. So the first 5 steps here were mostly about setting up the top half of that marketing funnel. So you want to learn and adapt from this process. So you need to be tracking everything. So I'm only going to briefly touch on this. If you want to learn more, scan this QR code up here to read my blog on agile marketing and how to implement it in your business. I'll quickly highlight the benefits of using an agile marketing method. So number 1, it works well with the fast-paced environments of business, and it facilitates collaboration and flexibility within your organization. Number 2, it increases your launching abilities. So by focusing on smaller iterative campaigns, you can quickly test and refine your marketing approach and or demographic segmentations, which will lead to faster launches and improved marketing efforts. So I like run an ad for a week and give it $200 and just see what happens first. And if it performs well, then that's when you would put more money into it rather than taking your whole $1,000 budget and just throwing it and seeing what works. Like test, iterate, tweak. That's like really the whole idea behind this methodology. And one of the things that I really appreciate about the agile marketing methodology is it places a really strong emphasis on customer feedback and data-driven decision making. So again, if you want to learn more here, I'll just say scan this QR code. It'll take you to my blog and you can learn more. So tracking. This is a big black box for a lot of businesses. So if you need any help with it, feel free to reach out to me after this. My email is also on the last slide. So for time's sake, I will just let you read what these tools are. But these are the various ways and tools to track marketing performance. So a fun fact about me is that I'm actually the only certified digital marketing expert in Saskatchewan. So I'm extremely well versed in all of these. I don't know if I gave it away yet, but I'm a bit of a nerd. I love analytics because it really helps for you to place your hard-earned resources in the right places. So something that I wanted to highlight here, why engagement at the bottom is starred, is because I really want to help you guys debunk some buzzwords and some of the metrics that can be used to measure engagement on social media. So like shares, retweets, comments, likes, followers, audience growth, click-throughs, mentions, DMs, branded hashtags, all those sorts of things count as engagement. And impressions can be useful, but mostly for awareness campaigns, more so than conversion campaigns. So again, making sure your business goal is your North Star. Because otherwise you're not going to be able to discern which metrics matter. How costly are analytics? Great question. A lot of these tools are free. So these are all native to the platform. So if you go into Meta Business Manager, Meta ad campaigns, Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, Google Ads. All of those are actually free with a Google Workspace business account. Now that isn't free, but it's about $8 a month, and that's your internal system that almost everyone uses nowadays anyways. So all of them are free, but setting them up can be quite challenging, which is where you would call someone like me to help. Okay, awesome. So yeah, just really making sure your business is your North Star is really important, or sorry, your business goal is really important when reading your analytics for tracking. So I'm going to take a quick coffee sip here. Again, thank you for all your questions as they're coming. Feel free to keep putting them in the chat. I'm here to answer all your questions. So step number 7 is if you've been kind of following along and actively thinking about how you can be using all of these things that I've been teaching you about here for your business specifically, I'm just going to assume that you've captured your customer. Okay, so they've already purchased, and I want to run through the bottom half of the marketing hourglass so that you're able to really give your customers a great experience. So this is the service delivery and retention pathway example. So the period between when someone gives you their money and when they actually receive your product is critical for forming a strong customer relationship. So in this stage, you really want to educate your new consumer, address their questions or concerns that they might have, and get them really excited to rip open that box. And this can be a metaphorical box. I'm talking about this stage here where it's like the unboxing experience. So as you can see, this journey has several points, and optimizing each one will create a compounding effect. The better the post-purchase experience, the more you're priming repeat customers and building business evangelists. So this stage is often quite overlooked, but it's extremely, extremely important because it can increase your month-over-month revenue, and investors really like to see this. It will also accelerate your business growth and increasing customer lifetime value, which lifts your overall revenue. So to walk through this, so first they purchase your item and then they get a thank you, right? They're like, thank you for, like after you place an online order, it's like, thank you for your order. Here's your order number. You get the order confirmation, you get shipping information, you might even get some return information, you might get some information about the company. For example, one of the things that I really love to learn is if the company is giving back in any way, because it makes me feel so much more excited for my purchase, knowing that it reached other things as well. So that is something to look into as well. Create a really cool unboxing experience. So even something as simple as a little post-it note that says thank you so much from Pam, or your name, really makes people feel happy, because there's so much depersonalization and transaction these days that really taking the time to just say thank you to your customers goes a really long way. And this part here is really important to me as well, the post-purchase check-in. Ask them how they're doing. So say, how are you doing with our offering? What did you like? What didn't you like? I like to joke and say that think about these customers, if they're a first-time customer, as babies. They're still figuring out the way of the world with you in it. So is your offering, new tires, for example? If you're giving customers new tires and then they're, still slipping and sliding around, does that mean, you need to find a new tire provider? Does that mean, they need additional resources to learn how to not slip around in the winter? things like that, like really just going the extra mile to check in with your consumer and seeing how they're doing with your product. And then if they're having a really positive experience, this is where you can ask for a review, or if you have a referral program in place, you can use that as well. These two things are so powerful for business growth. So reviews are used as a form of social proof. And I believe the stat is somewhere around 90% of consumers look at reviews before purchasing, and they trust them as much as talking to a friend about it. So online reviews are really important. The more reviews you can collect, the better. And then also same with referral programs. So just saying like, hey, if you loved your tires, here's 10% off for your friend. Don't even say your next purchase, because tires have a very long lifetime value, but just say here's 10% off, like spread the joy that our purchase gave you to your friends. And then obviously that from there, it just leads into a series of marketing campaigns, whatever, kind of makes the most sense for your product or company. Any other questions here? I think I see one more. Okay. There we go. So, tips on designing your post-purchase email campaigns is to make them skimmable, focused on the consumer, inbox friendly, which basically means make sure it shows up well on mobile and also desktop inboxes. Make it branded, make it purposeful and useful. Referral codes, coupons for next purchase, a blog that can be really helpful, things like that. So this whole part of the hourglass is the difference between creating an okay experience and a great one. And that's ultimately going to make the difference between an okay customer and a great customer. So with that, I will end it. Ended a little bit ahead of schedule, which means we have lots of time for questioning. So absolutely flood it with questions. I do really want to say thank you so much for giving me your lunchtime. Your participation and attendance means so much to me. And please feel free after this session to introduce yourself, connect with me on LinkedIn, create my website. My email is just here, kira@kasmconsulting.com. And if you enjoyed this presentation, but you kind of learned that there's some things that you just don't know how to do, or there's some things that you want to have, you can absolutely feel free to connect with me. And if you learn that you might not have capacity to initiate all these things, I am able to accept 2 more clients as of February 1st. Now, I did just get up a call before this meeting. So right now it's actually 1 new client. So fire your emails really fast if you need any help, and I can prioritize that. And one of the things that Kasm does is, like I said, we provide the full hourglass solutions catered to your business needs. And our solutions are from the planning stage through to execution and optimization. So I really just examine every angle to ensure you're putting your resources in the right places under the strategy or pillars of marketing strategy, digital marketing and advertising, and online optimization. I see a question in there that says, do I do website development as well? Yes, I sure do. And don't worry, I will make sure that all of the backend tracking is set up as well with SEO optimization, because that is very important. Okay, any other questions, everyone? Feel free to flood the chat. Like I said, this is the time for you all to pick my brain, get the most value you can out of this webinar. Yeah, any other questions or comments?
Great. Well, I'm gonna say with that, thank you so much, Kira, for that completely informative presentation that you just gave. I think we all learned a lot. And of course, as Kira shared her website, I think it's in the chat, correct? Is it?
Also, the QR code on the right is my website. The
Perfect.
QR code on the left is my LinkedIn. So feel free to.
Yeah, please feel free to reach out to her and get those websites and marketing up for your businesses. Thank you again, everyone who joined today. We do have some more time. If Kira, you want to stay on and answer questions or talk with anyone or exchange information, then you can, of course, do that. We can do another 5 minutes if persons want to just talk with you and just get some insights where their business is concerned. Before we go, we have our next webinar, February 14th. If you have not signed up for that, please go ahead upon over our website and get signed up.